he wasn't supposed to die that night.
Yes. Investigators want to know why a Muncie woman killed her neighbor. Marchita Holloway told police she was acting in self-defense when she shot 18-year-old Kyle Pratt. It happened at her South Mulberry Street home. Police say Holloway changed her story several times during questioning. Police still want to question Holloway's boyfriend, Derek Norris. Officers arrested him at the house days before the shooting on unrelated charges.
This episode contained descriptions of violence, drug use, and sensitive family experiences. Some information is based on public records, archived reports, and statements shared by a family member. Certain accounts reflect personal perspective and may not be represented as official findings. All individuals are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. This story is told to document, bring awareness, and honor the life of Kyle Pratt. Viewer discretion is advised. It's late inside the home on Mulberry Street in Muncie, Indiana. A couple drinks are already poured. Nothing about this felt out of place. Kyle Pratt, 18 years old, sitting inside that home with people he knows, people he trusts. But what he doesn't know is that something already changed. Because according to his sister, this wasn't just a hangout. This wasn't just a normal night. This was a setup. A gun get pulled. Not as a joke, not by accident, but pointed at his face. September 21st, 2004, Kyle Pratt is rushed to Ball Memorial Hospital, fighting for his life. He doesn't make it. And what happened inside that home depends on who you ask, because the story kept changing. I am Darius Nefarious, and this is Darkside of Muncie. Okay, before we get into tonight's episode, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Your Mom's Bail Bonds. If you or a loved one ever find yourself in a tough situation and need fast and reliable help, contact Luke Medlin and the team at Your Mom's Bail Bonds. They are available 24 hours a day, serving Muncie and all across Indiana with quick response times and professional service when families need it the most. They understand that people make mistakes, and they work hard to help families through stressful situations without judgment. Call Your Mom's Bail Bonds at 765-993-2795. Again, that's Your Mom's Bail Bonds. Trusted, local, and available 24/7. Now let's get back into tonight's episode of the Dark Side of Muncie. So with this story, I did this story a while back. It's on my Facebook only. So Darius Nefarious. I really didn't have none of the resources I had. My equipment was terrible. My quality of my audio was bad. Everything was real bad the way I did the first documentary. So I told his sister, Amanda, I was like, okay, I'm gonna redo this. We finally was able to talk about more, and I got her accounts of the story. I spoke with someone named Stephanie who lived in the area at the time, and she agreed to do an interview with me, so I was able to get her account, and you will see that somewhere later on in the video. But now I just want to tell the story the right way, so that's why I'm redoing it. So before we can get started on what happened that night, we have to understand who Kyle really was. So Kyle was born June 17th, 1986. And before anybody would ever know his name because of the tragedy, Kyle was just a child growing up in Muncie, trying to make sense of the world around him. One of the earliest losses in Kyle's life came when he was just a little boy. His father, Michael E. Pratt, passed away June 12, 1990, at just 38 years old. And when his father died, Kyle was 3 years old, just 5 days from turning 4. That matters, because when people hear someone lost a parent young, sometimes they picture a teenager or somebody old enough to remember every conversation, every lesson, and every moment. But Kyle was only 3. Still at an age where most kids are just beginning to understand what family means. Too young to really process death. Too young to understand why somebody is here one day and gone the next. So according to the obituary, Michael E. Pratt left behind his children, including Amanda and Kyle. So from very early on, one part of Kyle Foundation was already gone. And that kind of loss, especially that young, considering a child's life, in ways people don't always see. Sometimes it shows up in sadness, sometimes in confusion, sometimes in anger, and sometimes it becomes a quiet absence, a missing piece. A person who is no longer there to guide them, no longer there to protect them, and no longer there to help shape the boy. Just a few years later, you catch a glimpse of Kyle in a way that feels small at first, but say a lot. On May 8, 1996, the Star Press ran a feature that included Kyle. At that time, Kyle would have been about 9 years old. And in that article, he says something simple about his mother. She helped me with my homework. She helped me get new shoes. That line mattered, because at 9 years old, that's how Kyle saw her. Not through addictions, not through chaos, not through what Amanda would eventually describe to me, but through the eyes of a child, a boy who still seen his mom as somebody who was helping him, somebody caring for him, and somebody showing up for him. And that's one of the saddest parts of this story. Children will hold on to whatever version of love they can find, even when the bigger picture is more complicated. Then on June 6, 1997, Kyle showed up again in newspapers, this time at Tui Pool. And by then, Kyle would have been about 10 years old, just a few weeks from turning 11. The article places him where kids are supposed to be, at the pool, around water, around summer, and around laughter, just being a kid. And those little newspaper moments, they matter, because they remind you this story didn't begin with violence. It began with a child, with school, summer days, family, and the little pieces of life most people never think twice about. That's what makes later tragedy hit harder, because you can actually see him, not as a victim, not as a headline, but as a child. Now, as Kyle got older, life started hitting him harder. According to Amanda, Kyle had ADHD. He struggled in school, struggled to sit still, and struggled to focus. And when that started happening over and over, school stopped feeling like a place where you belong. It started feeling like a place where you are always left behind. Like no matter how hard you try, you can't catch up. Eventually, Kyle dropped out at just 16 years old. 16. Still a kid, but already drifting away from a structure most young people still have around them. But Amanda made it clear, school wasn't the only struggle. What was happening at home was shaping Kyle too. According to Amanda, their mother, in her own words, was a bad alcoholic, an addict. And Amanda didn't describe this like something hidden from the kids. She described it as something they was living inside, something right in front of them, something that became normal way too young. Amanda said that their mother gave them pills, drinks, and cigarettes. Being introduced to that life inside their own home, not out in the streets first, not from strangers, not from some outside crowd, but from inside the place that was supposed to be safe. And Amanda said something that explained a lot of the pain. She says they thought it was cool at first, and it made them feel closer to their mother because she wasn't really there. That's one of the hardest parts of the story. The connection they was looking for came wrapped inside harm, and the love they was reaching for was mixed with addiction. So Amanda also described another part of that home: violence. She said the stepfather was abusive. And this wasn't just something in the background, it reached Kyle too. According to Amanda, on his 18th birthday, Kyle was assaulted. She said the stepfather said, "Happy birthday," and gave Kyle a black eye. 18 years old, already dealing with everything else in life, and still not safe, even at home. That matters, because it shows the environment didn't just shape him. It followed him, all the way to the point where he was supposed to be stepping into adulthood. So now the picture get even clearer. A father gone when he was only 3 years old, struggles in the school, and addictions in the home, exposure to pills and alcohol early, and violence, even at 18. That's the environment Kyle Pratt was living in. Now, like a lot of teenagers raised inside that kind of environment, Kyle was trying to find somewhere where he fit. Somewhere where he didn't feel behind, and somewhere where he didn't feel different. Somewhere where he felt normal. According to Amanda, Kyle started smoking weed, drinking, and using pain pills. Not because he was trying to become something bad, but because he was just numbing through all the pain he was going through. And that what life looked around him. That what he was exposed to, and that what felt normal to him. That way he thought he belonged. But even through all of that, that still wasn't Kyle. Because when Amanda talks about Kyle, she doesn't start with the struggles. She started with who he was. She said Kyle was funny. Not just a little funny, but the kind of funny that sticks with you. The kind of funny you remember years later. He was goofy, she said. Always doing something. Always trying to make people laugh. Amanda said, you remember Birdman? He used to make this bird noise. In school, at home, anywhere. Just to be funny. And if that wasn't enough, she said he would bark at people. Like a dog. Just to get a reaction. That was Kyle. Not the rumors, not what people would later say about him, but the kid who liked to make people laugh. Amanda also said Kyle had a good heart. She said he was very kind. The type of person who would help anybody if he could. And she said something else that mattered. Kyle wasn't a fighter at all. He wasn't the type of person looking for problems and wasn't the type trying to hurt anybody. And sometimes it's the smallest details that stick with people the most. Amanda said Kyle loved Oreos. And that might seem small, but that will make him real. So when you look at Kyle Pratt, you have to see all of it. The kid who struggled, the teenager trying to fit in, but also the goofy kid making bird noises, barking at people and making people laugh, loving Oreos and helping others. That was Kyle. But on September 21st, 2004, that life came to an end inside the home on Mulberry Street in Muncie, Indiana, with people he trusted. September 21st, 2004, in Muncie, Indiana, a normal night. At least that's how it started. 2009 South Mulberry Street, a house where people had been gathering, drinking and smoking. The kind of place where nobody really asks too many questions. Inside that home, Kyle Pratt, Marquita Holloway, and Derek Norris, 3 people, all connected, all about to be a part of something that would change everything. Because what most people don't know, police has already been to that house. Not after the shooting, but before it. Officers had been called to that home 3 times in the past week. And one of those calls came just 4 hours before Kyle was shot. An anonymous caller reported people was arguing inside the home, and it looked like they was trying to kill each other. Police showed up, and inside they found all 3, Norris, Holloway, and Kyle. But when officers asked what was going on, everyone said everything was fine. No signs of a fight, no signs of danger. So police left. And that was the moment everything could have changed. Later that same night at around 10:42, Holloway called 911 and reported that she shot someone. She told police a man was breaking into her home and she shot him. When officers got there, Kyle Pratt was lying on the kitchen floor, shot in the face, a gunshot wound near his left eye. He was still alive, barely. They rushed him to Ball Memorial Hospital, but he didn't make it. He died in the emergency room. Now, for years, the people who lived around South Mulberry Street carried pieces of that night with them. Memories, sounds, feelings that never fully left. One of those people was Stephanie Kane, a woman who lived directly across the street from the house where Kyle Pratt lost his life. But to Stephanie, Kyle wasn't just a neighborhood kid. She said,
"We were cautioned in that morning My son was a 5-year-old who thought that Kyle was his best friend because Kyle was very gracious and loving and always was hanging out with the littler kids in the neighborhood.
That's how she remembered him. Not violent, not dangerous, but patient, gentle, and safe. And according to Stephanie, just hours before the shooting, she had one final interaction with Kyle. She said Kyle was on the porch at the address that his life was taken. She said one of the neighbors told Kyle to leave her alone, but Stephanie immediately shut that down. She said, that is absolutely not true. He is like one of my kids. And at the time, it probably felt like a small moment, just another conversation. But years later, that became the last time she would ever speak to Kyle Pratt. Now, at that time, Stephanie was arguing with her husband, so she kind of walked in the house and slammed the door. She said her husband got back. Kyle was like, "You in trouble now?" And he was like, her husband was like, "Oh, she'll get over it." So they ended up going to bed, her and her husband, and then she heard the gunfire. She said they immediately called 911, but another neighbor had already called first. Stephanie rushed outside, and what she saw never left her. She was in front of their yard screaming that Kyle tried to attack her. But Stephanie say she never believed it. There is no way. I had spent too much time with Kyle. To Stephanie, that version of Kyle didn't exist. And then another detail burned into her memory. She said another neighbor seen her boyfriend with Derek run outside the back door and ran down the road. A moment that only added more confusion, more suspicion, and more questions. But according to Stephanie, the strange feeling around that house started before the shooting. Days earlier, she said this.
Before that even occurred, the female walked up to my fence and she's looking at, mind you, I have 3 children. She's looking at my one child with blue eyes and she's like, "It's so beautiful. And a gift. I have these rocks that I've painted symbols on, moons and stars. May I gift these to your son?" And my dad snatched them out of her hands and took them to the back of the yard and threw them in the trash. And I felt like I had to start praying because I felt sick at that moment. And after it was all said and done, they said that the officers, the investigators were telling me that there was a lot of satanic stuff in there. There was a lot of weird pictures of them naked with guns and Charles Manson memorabilia and a lot of things that just freaked me out. Number one thing that really freaked me out with the couple is the way that they dressed. They always dressed all in black, pretty much head to toe. You really never seen her skin. She always had like long sleeves on, and it just really gave me demonic vibes.
Now, while Stephanie made clear of some of her beliefs and speculations, she says she never believed Kyle attacked anyone. There's no way. Years later, Stephanie still remembers the gunfire, the screaming, and the confusion, and the feeling that something inside the house was deeply wrong. So Kyle passed away, but the story is still just getting started. So police are standing inside that same house, looking at the same people and trying to figure out what really happened. Marquita Holloway said it was self-defense. She said Kyle was breaking in and said she was scared, but investigators didn't buy it. It was different versions, different details, and different explanations. One of the biggest claims was that Kyle tried to assault her, but when investigators looked, they found nothing. No physical evidence of an assault, no signs of struggle, and no injuries. Nothing to support it. And that's what changed everything. Then there was Derek Norris, the boyfriend, the one that also lived there. At first, he was not even considered a suspect. Police initially said Norris was not a suspect, but that wouldn't last. Because just days before Kyle was killed, Norris reported that someone broke into his home and stole multiple guns, including 6 guns, one being an AK-47. And guess who he thought was responsible? Kyle. Now think about that. You accuse someone of stealing your guns, and days later, the same person ended up shot. Now police are starting to look closely at both of them, Holloway and Norris, because now it's not just about what happened, it's about who is lying. Investigators learned that Norris and Holloway lived together, and Kyle had always been around them. Then the pressure started building. Interviews, questioning, and inconsistencies stacking up. And eventually the truth started slipping through. This wasn't self-defense. This wasn't a break-in. This was something else. Authorities believed there was more to the story than what was being told. And eventually Marquita Holloway is charged with murder. Charged in the shooting of 18-year-old Kyle Pratt. But then, here's another twist. It still wasn't over. Because while she was charged, more information started coming out. Investigators began looking deeper at Derek Norris, and what they found changed everything. Norris admitted to fatally shooting Kyle Pratt, not Holloway, but Norris. He told authorities it was an accident. He blamed drugs and alcohol. He claimed the shooting was accidental due to intoxication, but Kyle was still dead. Kyle ended up inside that home with people who were already in a bad situation, using alcohol and drugs, and then a gun get involved. And in that one moment, everything changes. Derek Norris pleads guilty, but he pleads guilty to voluntary manslaughter. And just like that, the case moved forward. But one question lingered. Was it really an accident? Or was Kyle set up from the beginning? Now, it all comes down to the courtroom, where Kyle Pratt doesn't get a chance to speak, but the people responsible do. At first, the case looked like murder. That's what the family believed. That's what Amanda said, and that's what it felt like. But in the end, that is not what stuck. Derek Norris pleads guilty to voluntary manslaughter. Not murder, but manslaughter. And for taking the life of an 18-year-old Kyle Pratt, he was sentenced to 6 years. 6 years. And for Amanda, that never sat right. For the community, that never sat right. She said it should have been murder. She said both of them should have been held accountable, because in her eyes, Kyle did not get justice. And this is the part people don't always talk about. What happened after the case, after the headlines, and after the courtroom emptied. The family is left with everything. Amanda told us the loss didn't just stop with Kyle. Her brother Daniel struggled with, after Kyle's death, depression, pain, and loss. And about a year and a half later, Daniel overdosed. He was only 16, with a baby girl on the way. She was born 2 weeks after he died, and their mother never recovered. Amanda says she blamed herself, numb, disconnected, and trying to feel, because the pain is too heavy to carry. And Amanda was left holding on to everything, working, grieving, and trying to survive while carrying the weight of losing, not just one brother, but 2. But when Amanda talked about Kyle, she doesn't just talk about how he died. She talked about how he lived. The goofy kid always making bird noises and barking at people, and the one that made people laugh. The one who would help anybody, and the one who loved Oreos. So before we end this story, I want my viewers to grab a candle. If you don't have a candle, please drop one inside the comment section. Today, before we end it, we got to say Kyle's name. Kyle was more than a case. He was more than a headline. He was a real person with a real life and people who loved him. Born June 17th, 1986. Taken September 21st, 2004. 18 years old. Gone, but not forgotten. This is the story of Kyle Pratt. Say his name. Now this point right here, I don't need no music or nothing, but this is what I do, why this matters. But I just have this feeling that this story is not complete. And I did speak with some more people after or during the creation of this video, and they want to speak what they have to share. And then they did share a lot, and I looked into it. And this story is a very tragic story. Like, he was so young, and he had a lot of friends. A lot of people knew who he was, and a lot of people was affected afterwards. Like, we look at a lot of the people he knew and seeing how the same thing replayed, either they going to jail or they getting addicted to drugs. And this story is not complete at all. And I try to fit everything into the little time I had. I don't really go over 20 minutes. Like, that's my rule. 20, 23 minutes at the most. This video is almost where I think it's going to be 26 minutes. I'm not really sure. But it's way more to it. So this is what I decided to do. I decided to make this a 2-part story, before season 3, and I'll make sure that we do a part 2, maybe somewhere towards the end of the season. I got a lot of stories to cover, but once I got the interviews done for Kyle's story, and I can really tell the stories of people he knew and friends of his, then you'll see, like, this is a very tragic story indeed. But thank you everyone for listening to me and taking your time to listen. We are doing a Remembrance March, May 17th. So by the time this come out, you're going to have like 4 days to kind of prepare. We're going to be at City Hall at 5 p.m. Just come out there. We'll support anybody who was lost through violence or even overdoses, or really, it's a remembrance for anyone. So if you do want to come out there, show some respect, or even live through your friends, that would be a good place to go. We will be doing a raffle ticket and a prayer tent. So if you would like to come out, just come out. City Hall, 5 p.m., May 17th.